After a long period during which politicians flirted with wild ideas like, can we just go to elections without an elections commission? They finally realized that that might not be such a great idea. And after more than 2 years of the IEBC limping along, a panel was finally formed. Interviews were conducted, spectacles of drama were witnessed, and now a decision has been made. The task of counting our votes and all the confusion that comes with it will fall to none other than a son of Turkana, Erastus Edung Ethekon, the new IEBC chair, alongside his team of 6 commissioners. The approval of the 7 came after Parliament used its power to forgive them for any past transgressions, many of which, stemmed from affiliations with the high and mighty of our land.
There was an objection to Mr. Ethekon's appointment on the basis that he is closely related to the former governor of Turkana, Mr. Josephat Nanok. This was in a sworn statement, and therefore we are to deal with it. On interrogation, Mr. Ethekon confirmed that he has no relationship whatsoever with Mr. Josephat Nanok apart from work-related relationship. There was an objection to his relationship with a member of parliament. We will not discuss that much, apart from he is a brother-in-law to the member of parliament. Anything else was not material in the objection.
But hey, that's not something that should be, hold anyone back, right? Because knowing someone on its own shouldn't be a disqualifier unless that connection gives you an unfair advantage over someone else who could be just as good or maybe even better. For example, I know my mother and myself get no advantage anywhere. So, congratulations to him. His name has 3 E's. I presume that stands for excellence. Turns out Ethekon wasn't really keen on applying for the IEBC chair positions, no. But guys at his cyber were like, you can get this thing, manze. And they applied for him. He interviewed and got it. Like, how cool is that, eh? Huh?
And I recall very well, Honorable Chair, for the record. At first, I was reluctant even to apply for this job, given the negativity and all these things around this position. But at the Cyber Café, where I normally photocopy my things and my papers, even from my work in South Africa, the young people in that Cyber Café, Peter, Purity, and Kizito, they are the people who urged me to put in my application, because looking at my documents and having conversations with me over tea, they thought and they felt that you have what it takes to lead this country in this institution. And at first I thought maybe I should just apply for the commission and the hot seat, leave it alone. But they actually went and submitted the documents both for the chair and for member. So when I was in South Africa, they sent me a screenshot. We've submitted the documents. And later on, when I was on my way to, I think, Angola or something, I saw my name in the newspapers that I've been shortlisted.
Are you saying you did not submit your own application for this position?
Peter, Purity, and Kizito, where were you when I needed you? I'm so disappointed that my own boys at my local base didn't urge me to apply. I would be a commissioner now. Anyway, back to what I was saying. The political class has already had its say about the new chair's appointment. Some are calling this appointment a signal of inclusion for all people who find themselves in the undeserved minority, while others are insisting on wider consultation, and rightly so. After all, the High Court of Kenya recently passed a ruling requiring consultation among parents where naming of a child is concerned. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to the naming of the IEBC chair, it's not just 2 parents. The whole political village has to assemble in the maternity ward to take a curious look at the baby. And if it has a broad-based jawline, a DNA test will be taken. But not to appear to cast any aspersions on the character of the appointed chair. His academic credentials are impressive. Bachelor of Laws, a master's in project management, a master's in peace and conflict management, and even a master's in oil and gas. Sleek move, eh? Just remember, an election mishandled can be far more explosive than a leaking pipeline. Don't get me wrong, I'm not here to discourage you. This is just an advisory. And now to the joy of the people of Turkana with this appointment.
Wakili Edung ni mtu ambaye ana heshima kwa kila mtu, kuanzia ule mdogo hadi ule ana cheo kubwa katika afisi yake.
Sisi ilikuwa iko kando leo. Kwa hiyo kijana yetu Erastus Edung
Ethekon's journey from Turkana County to the helm of Kenya's electoral body is a testament to perseverance and dedication. Turkana is all about resilience, and that's definitely a quality the IEBC Chair will need in abundance. Speaking of Turkana and the resilience of historically marginalized people, a certain narrative of a grandstanding type has emerged during this appointment period, that the government is reaching out to a marginalized region and handing them a token. But let's be honest, framing this appointment as a token gesture is an attempt to downplay the qualifications of a capable and deserving Kenyan. Is Turkana marginalized? Absolutely. Turkana County has in many ways remained stuck in time, while other counties, especially those closer to the country's economic and political centers, have moved forward, achieving progress. Here, progress is relative. But you get what I'm saying? That disparity is undeniable. The further a region is from the heart of national resources and infrastructure, the further behind it tends to fall. And Turkana is a prime example of that. But why does this disparity persist? That's the same question we should be asking about several counties that seem to exist as tiny footnotes, barely visible until it becomes politically convenient to notice them. Is Turkana marginalized just because of its distance from Nairobi, the so-called bedroom of financial affairs? Well, last time I checked, and hopefully that hasn't changed, the straight line distance between Nairobi and Turkana is under 500 kilometers. So what really keeps the region in the margins? Is this distance too vast for the national government to send resources to Turkana to put kids in school instead of young kids as young as 5 wandering away in thickets and traveling for long distances to look for water? 500 kilometers, 300 miles or so, can't be too long a distance. Remember, funds meant for the development of this country seem to find their way to distant places, like Dubai, where we buy apartments, Switzerland, Malta, Hong Kong, or the Cayman Islands. For perspective, the distance between Nairobi and Switzerland is over 6,000 kilometers. Yet our money reaches there without hindrance. Back to the Nairobi to Turkana distance. Ever since sweet crude oil with an API gravity ranging between 32 and 38 degrees was discovered at Ngamia 1 in Block 10 BB, has the distance between Nairobi and Turkana Lokichar significantly reduced? Who knows? Maybe. Turkana County is now just 50 kilometers away. I can't say that. Why? Okay, let me rephrase. If someone who hasn't spoken to you in 100 years suddenly calls, and the first thing they say is, "Hey, cousin, I really love you," you'd probably think, that's a bit intense, and a bit fast. Where have you been all this time, cousin? And that's how it feels between the Kenyan state and the people of Turkana. But I won't elaborate further. The appointment of minorities and the jubilation that follows is a positive step, but it also underscores the deeper need for systemic change. While such milestones are worth celebrating, the true goal should be to create an environment where individuals from marginalized regions are empowered through education and access to resources, enabling them to seize the opportunities in large numbers. Progress means making such appointments ordinary, not exceptional. That said, we are glad we are here now. As you step into your new role, be prepared. It won't be smooth sailing. You come across as a good guy, someone who just wants to count our votes. But let's be real. You are like that kid from the distant village appointed as games prefect in a school full of big boys whose parents have money. You know the ones whose parents bring full catering units for a small Parents' Day event? Yes, you know them? Those ones. So expect those big boys to bully you big time. They might even say, "Tusipopata tenda, tutakutoa hapa." Si unajua ni sisi tulikuweka hapa. With this appointment, you've officially become the pilot of Kenya's most turbulent aircraft, one that takes off every 5 years, but never quite seems to land smoothly. And sometimes you could swear it's being held together with duct tape at the last minute. What I'm trying to say is, getting the money and resources you need in good time, by the way, to prepare for elections or any other IEBC function won't be guaranteed. The political class funds you when it suits them. If they need new boundaries drawn to benefit their allies, sure, you'll see the cash flowing. But if it's about procuring Kim's kits early or training your officers ahead of time, people will switch off their phones and tell you to improvise. Na kile uko nacho. Remember, in Kenya, things don't just fail. Apana, they are designed to fail. Like a typical Kenyan CCTV camera where you expect it to give you footage, then suddenly you hear stories. It wasn't working. But I digress. Also, if someone told you that elections are like marathons, carefully planned over time, smooth and orderly on election day, they lied. In this country, elections are not marathons. They are sprints. No, mad dashes. We flirt with deadlines, cross our fingers and then pray for divine intervention. After all, we believe all leaders drop from heaven. Right? If devices fail or ballots don't make it to some corners of the country, don't worry, it's all part of the divine script. Here's how we usually do it. We wait till the last possible moment, then we scramble to find anyone who can provide digital infrastructure. If we are lucky, we land a Beyajioni deal. Say, Smartmatic. But then someone says, wait, this vendor might be compromised. And then we shrug because really, what choice do we have, right? Then we run around looking for who can print the ballot papers for us. We finally get someone, but because we like skipping proper verification, we end up with errors. That leads to, postponed elections in key areas. And what happens next? Voter morale drops, turnout falls, especially for the big seats up the ballot.
We are ready to undertake this exercise.
With just hours to the general election, the Electoral Commission has announced the suspension of elections in 4 areas, which has been occasioned by printing error on the ballot papers.
Elections for the gubernatorial seat, Kakamega County, gubernatorial seat, Mombasa County, Kachiliba constituency, member of National Assembly, Pokot South constituency, member of National Assembly, elections have been suspended for those 4 elective positions, and the date will be announced through a Gazette notice.
Yep, I will not tell you how this affects 50+1. And talking about 50%, I know you are soon settling down to compute your way around. Find time to have a sit down with all commissioners, at least to agree on a consistent formula when tallying results when that time comes, right? Clarify that 49% plus 1 vote doesn't add up to 50%, let alone +1. There is always confusion around that particular mathematics.
We therefore decline to take ownership of the said results because the aggregation resulted in a total exceeding the percentage of 100, which cast doubt on the accuracy of the source of the figures.
Cherera purports the aggregation of the 4 presidential results amounts to a total of 100.01%, leaving 0.01% or 14.2 million voters hanging. She further claims that 0.01% translates to approximately 142,000 votes.
The 0.01% translates to approximately 142,000 votes, which will make a significant difference in the final result.
A quick check of the figure 0.01% divided by 100 multiplied by 14.2 million amounts to 1,420 votes. The 4 claiming the error defies the logic of maths and hence cast the doubt on the accuracy of the source of figures tallied.
When mathematical results or formulas start varying from one commissioner to the other, coupled with other factors, it could excite people, build hopes and expectations, and sometimes make grown men sweat unnecessarily.
And he was the only person who knew who the disco would land on. It could have been either of them. It could have been William Ruto, it could have been Raila Odinga. It fell on William Ruto and he says, voila, you are the president. Is that how we intend to choose our national executive? We've reduced it to Mimi's childhood game of picky, ponky, pacamielo,
Council again.
Yes.
And then there is this little thing called transparency. Man, I can't say enough how transparency is key in any election management framework, which culminates in election results. Yes, election results should be shared openly among commissioners to build trust. Feels like rocket science, but it really isn't. Election results are not private videos from a girlfriend where you have to go so far and turn down the volume. Just do it in the open. That way, you build trust. Now, there's barely any time left. Campaigns have kicked off. Never mind that they shouldn't have. One party feels shortchanged by the other, so they hit the streets to voice their grievance and protect their base. Base with an S here at the end. Easy base here, ASS. Sawa. Naturally, the other side feels entitled to a right of reply, and so both parties are on the roofs of their vehicles in a proper shouting match. In politics, they say silence is a weakness. Every jab must be countered within 24 hours, and that is how a campaign starts, and service delivery stops. Total confusion. All this, mind you, while we haven't even begun registering new voters. The infrastructure for that, Haiko, nowhere in sight. And as if that's not enough, cousins have already started falling in love.
Hi, cousins. Hi, cousins. Hi, cousins. Hi, Makuzo. Hi, cousins.
Meaning one thing is clear. Time ya mechi imefanya nini? Imefika. What I'm saying is that 2027 is already here with us. Welcome to the IEBC. Don't forget to share, like, and definitely subscribe.